to show you a little bit and share a little bit more about Civitech itself. So I'm going to share this slideshow for a moment. So at Civitech, we only work with Democratic and progressive candidates, campaigns, and organizations. We do it in several ways. So I mentioned that we maintain a nationwide voter file. So we work with all 50 secretaries of state to maintain that voter file. We also have a texting tool as well, so people can reach out to folks via peer-to-peer texting. And then one of the main other programs that we run is targeted voter registration. And that has been super successful nationwide. We've registered almost 10 million people by sending folks a voter registration application in the mail. And then if we have their phone number, we'll follow it up with a text and say, hey, you should have received this registration application in the mail. Make sure you get it back by X date. And those programs are super successful. So if you're interested in that sort of targeted voter registration, our team can help you out. I can put an email in the chat later for you guys to reach out about that if you're interested. And one of the more recent developments in Civitech is RunningMate. And that's what I'm primarily here to talk with you about. That is my primary role here, is to help support RunningMate and the clients that are on RunningMate. We do work with other large organizations, training organizations, and candidate support and things like that. Here's just a few examples. Just a few things about RunningMate. So it contains your voter file for your specific district, and I'll show you that here in just a moment. You can choose to upgrade to visualize that unregistered data that I mentioned before. And you can canvas, you can set goals and watch your progress towards those goals as you make contact with people. And you can calculate your likely turnout and win number for your particular race that you're supporting. There's no limit to downloads or uploads as well. And you can add an unlimited number of users to your workspace. So there aren't very many restrictions on RunningMate. We also have daily office hours. So if folks wanted to walk through their particular district or ask questions, 5 days a week, we have office hours available. So RunningMate is built for specifically with undersupported and first-time candidates in mind. So that's kind of the persona that we're building towards at the moment. But we also support other organizations like PACs, consultants, state and county parties, things like that. So, and because of our Arena partnership, we're actually going to be able to offer RunningMate Pro to you all for free for a year, should you choose to sign up. So there's some details here on how to sign up for RunningMate. I'm also going to put that into the chat as well, so you don't have to remember it. You're also going to get this deck at the end, so it'll have all of those details there. And with that, I'm going to take this piece down, and I'm going to start sharing what RunningMate looks like. So you should be able to see RunningMate now. And this is what it would look like if you were to log in. So this is the homepage. You can see the total number of registered targets that we have in this county. So we're looking at Mecklenburg County, North Carolina, right here. You can see when that voter file was last updated. So it looks like it was just 4 days ago that it was updated. The center panel here is interactive. You can scroll down and see an overview of partisanship, turnout, and demographics. And then this center panel also updates as you interact either with the filters on the left or with the map itself. So the map is also interactive. You can hover over any of the precincts just to get an overview of what that precinct looks like. You can click on those precincts and that center panel will update as well. And then you can also zoom into the map all the way down to the household and individual level. So I'm gonna try and not show too much PII on this, since this is also going to be going out in an email to a bunch of people, but there may be a little bit there. So so I'm just going to touch on the filters here on the homepage. You can make a precinct list just by scrolling through and clicking on whichever precincts that you're interested in. You can also type in those precincts, or as you saw before, you can click on the map. Um, we're trying to make this as intuitive and user-friendly as possible. It's a very visual platform. So you can open up all of these sections here for different filter criteria that you can get into. Um, I mentioned that we're building it for undersupported and first-time candidates in mind. So one of the things that we've done to help support those folks is that we have a few preset filters. So we've got base targets. So base is going to be your strong Democrats who are likely to turn out to vote. So we've marked those as your base. They have a high turnout score. We're pretty sure they vote for Democrats when they turn out. We have your turnout targets. So those are going to be folks that are either modeled as or registered as Democrats and who have a lower turnout score. So we need to convince them to turn out in this election to vote for you or your cause. Then we also have persuasion targets. So those are going to be folks that we're not sure if they vote for Democrats or Republicans, but we think that they're persuadable. They have a higher turnout score. So if you can persuade them to turn out, you may be able to persuade them to vote for you. And then for folks who decide to upgrade their account to have that unregistered data, we have a registration targets filter here. And you can see as I click on these, the map changes. So it becomes a target density map. You can see that the darker ones are the precincts with the most of whatever filter criteria that you have. So, like in this case, we're looking at people who are unregistered. These are unregistered folks. The darker precincts are the ones that have the most of those unregistered targets. And one of the common questions that we get about the unregistered folks is where do these come from, right? So Civitech maintains a proprietary database of unregistered targets. Currently, we're only viewing one type of unregistered targets in the platform, and those are sourced from public files. So things like college enrollment records, teachers, nurses, professional license holders, things like that. We're able to get those from different entities and then compare those to the state voter file, figure out which ones are registered, which ones are not. And so those are the ones that we're viewing currently in the platform. These are people, a lot of whom are going to be college students, but there are other types as well. Soon, we're going to also be able to visualize here in RunningMate people who have moved and have not registered or re-registered at their new address. So that's going to be another subset of unregistered people that we'll be able to visualize here as well. So I'm just going to show you a few other filters here on the home page, and then go into some of the other more strategic tools over on the left. So you can open up all of these different sections here. We're looking at unregistered right now, but if you weren't focused on those folks, you could just focus on registered. In states that have party registration, you can focus on people who are just registered as Democrats or just registered as another party. And then for states that don't have party registration, like Texas, for instance, you can use the party lean model. So that is a partisanship model that is focused on their likelihood to vote for Democrats or Republicans. And a couple things that go into that model is how often that person votes in a Democratic or Republican primary, demographics, and then how their precinct turns out. So does their precinct swing blue or red? All of those are factors into their individual party lean score. So other tools also have scores very similar, but that's how ours is derived. We also have a voter turnout score. So similar idea. It's how likely is this person to turn out to vote in a general election. So 1 being very unlikely, 100 being very likely to turn out to vote. We have vote history that you can filter by as well. So if you want to look at people who are primary voters, you can click on which primary year that you're interested in seeing or multiple primary years. You can also look at general elections if you're looking for general election voters. And you can also then filter by demographics. So if you were doing a registration campaign and you wanted to focus on unregistered young women of color, it would be pretty easy to do that and to create that filter here. You can just open up the demographics section, choose your race, choose the gender, and then add an age, right? So if we were looking for unregistered young women of color, 18 to 35, you could do that fairly simply and then see who all we have identified that meet that criteria. Um, then if you wanted to save that filter criteria so that you can create lists from it or come back to those folks later, then you can click save and give it a name, 18 to 35. Um, and then when you create these saved filters on the homepage, later you're also able to turn those into lists from which you can canvas. So I'll show you that here in a moment as well. Um, so a few other sections of the homepage filter, we have tags. So each workspace can create their own tags for whatever data point that they would like to collect. So anything from priority issues or first-time voters, precinct chairs, things like that, teachers, anything that you would like to collect as you're talking to people, you can turn that into a tag that you can apply or that your volunteers can apply while they're out talking with folks. So you can include or exclude those depending on what you're looking for in that particular audience. And then also on the homepage is going to be survey responses. So we currently only have 2 survey responses that folks can use. So we have registration intent. And so for folks that have unlocked that unregistered data in the platform, they can mark someone as intending to register to vote, yes, no, or undecided. And you can view the people that we've received those responses from here on the homepage, and then also in Universe Builder, where you can also create more complex lists than here on the homepage. So I'll get into that in a moment. And then the other survey question that everyone has access to is support score. So this is how likely is this person to support you, or what have they indicated? Do they strongly support you, or are they strongly opposed? So you can mark people 1 to 5, and then later you can filter on those folks that have indicated strong support and create lists from those folks. So that is the homepage. If you wanted to create a filter here of people and then download a list, you can do that from the homepage. You can also do it from several other locations in the platform. There are a few different download types. So the first one is going to be your in-depth voter file, basically. So the download registered data type is your super in-depth voter file. It's got all of the person's vote history, which primary they voted in 2015, 2017, or all the way back. It's got which state house, state senate, congressional district they're in, things like that. So super in-depth and detailed. Then we've got the second version, which is going to be more trimmed down. So it's not as in-depth of a look at the person's voting history and things, but it has their contact information. So if we have a phone number and email address, those are going to be included there in that download type. That one will also include a section of blank columns that you can add data to if you have data like indicating that a person's a donor or support scores from somewhere else, then you can add those to those columns. And then in a similar format is the unregistered data. So you can download that if you would like to work from a list or a printed list. And it has all of the contact information that we have for that person. So then going over here to the left panel, I mentioned that you can create tags. The data management section is where you would do that. That's also where you can import lists. So if you're working with a different voter file tool, as long as they have the state voter file ID, you can import that list and import tags and support scores from other sources, as long as we have that state voter file ID. So you would do that from here. And then you can also create tags. So that would be from this tab here. So any tags that you would like to create, you can create here. And one of the unique features of RunningMate that doesn't really exist in other tools, is a more strategic piece, is goal tracker. So we have two different goal trackers, one of which is only available for folks that have that unregistered data. The other is available for everyone. So it's called the Campaign Goals Goal Tracker. And I may need to reset my goals now that I think about it, just so that I can show you what that workflow looks like. So this is the end stage, but I'm going to reset it here just so that we can kind of walk through that process. So this walks you through a workflow where it asks for past similar election data. So in this case, it would be like a county-wide race. So this person is running for something county-wide. So you would want to pull data about a past similar election. So how many people turned out to vote in that past similar election, and then how many people were registered and could have turned out to vote. And you can add that for up to 3 previous elections. And it will calculate the voting rate for you right there. So I'm just going to enter some dummy data here. There we go. And that calculates the voting rate for you of those 2 elections. It averages that. And it then applies that voting rate to the total number of currently registered voters. So there's 807,000 registered voters right now. If that 45% voting rate holds up for this future election that you're working on right now, then we'd be expecting about 363,000 people to turn out in this upcoming election. So it helps calculate that turnout estimate. Then it applies that turnout estimate to your win number and tells you that if we're expecting 363,000 people to turn out, then we think that your win number is about 192,000 people. And it tells you how that's calculated. So it's 50% of the turnout estimate plus a 3% win margin right here. So 192,000 people is what we think that you'll need to hit to win in a head-to-head election. You can adjust this as well if you would like. And so the third step of the goal tracker is breaking down the different voter ID universes that you have. So if your win number is 192,000, then you're going to need to talk to and get positive responses from more than that number of people, right? So you're going to need to talk to at least 150% of your win number. So 288,000 people is our goal, our support goal. And so it breaks that down into your base, turnout, and persuasion targets below. So we have 250,000 base targets. Those are people that we think are going to turn out to vote, and they're probably going to vote Democratic when they do, right? So that's here at the top. The people that you need to talk to, though, those are going to be your turnout and persuasion universes. And you can adjust these numbers here. It just kind of defaults. But you can, if you want to talk to all of the persuasion voters, you can do that. Or if you want to focus on turnout voters, you can do that. Depends on your campaign strategy. So you need to talk with at least 38,000 of these folks to be able to hit that win number. So the fourth step is just a review of those goals that you've just set. And then it brings you to your goal tracker page. So this is a step that we recommend folks do basically as soon as they get onto the platform, just so that they can get an idea of how many people they actually need to talk to hit the win number that they're looking for. So, and then as you talk with people and get support scores from folks entered into the platform, this updates real time. So if you had a team of volunteers out canvassing today, you would be able to see these numbers ticking up as you got positive support scores, so 1 or 2 saying that they support you. You can look at priority precincts here just by highlighting this, and it'll create a list for you right here. These are precincts with the most opportunity area, which you can then download if you would like. You can review your progress here. And then I'm just going to pause the goal tracker piece for now, but I mentioned before that you can create universes from which you can canvas. I've already created a few here, but Universe Builder over here is your more in-depth list builder. So that's where you can include, exclude. You can say things like you want people who have voted in 3 of the last 5 Democratic primaries, things like that. You would save that as a universe. Um, you can then create a list from that. So basically, these are filters. These are filter criteria. You can create a list, which is a snapshot of those people that you've created in that filter, which I've already done a few just for an example to show you. And you need to create a list before you can canvas. So one of the other pieces over here in the left is the outreach section. So we have 2 different methods. So we have the search functionality. So if you're talking with somebody at an event, you could look them up, add support scores and tags from there. But we also have canvassing. So I'm just going to click over here, show you what it looks like. So you have your lists available. You can click into that and it will show you the people that are on your canvassing list. So this one was focused on one particular precinct. Um, and there we go. So this is what it would look like. If it were on your, let's see, oops. I was going to show it to you on the mobile device. Let me see if I can do that quickly. There we go. Okay, so this is what it would look like from your mobile. It defaults to the list view. It shows you who all is on your list and their Canvas status. So you can also toggle over to the map if you would like and see folks on there. Now, if you're here to talk to Emma, you could open up her contact card right here, see all of the information about her, like she is registered as a Democrat, she votes, right? And then you start a conversation with her. You can mark that she's a strong supporter, and that will update showing that you have canvassed her. You can also add tags from here as well. So any of the tags that you have available or notes, right? So you can add any notes if there are things that don't really fit into the tags. Now, if the person is unavailable, you can also mark that and it will update that on your list as well. And so from the mobile device, there's a little bit more limited functionality, but you can canvas, you can search individuals, you can review your goal tracker and set your goals, and then the home page. You just don't have Universe Builder and then the upload functionality from your phone. So I'm going to go ahead and pause there because I'm running a little bit short on time and see if I've got questions that I might be able to answer just before we wrap it up. So let's see. There was a question about demographics. I think I went into that. So the district types that are available, we go all the way down to the sub school district and city council. So if it is a ward specific city council or school board seat, we're able to do that. We also have a few special districts that we can add just as needed that might be even more local than that. But we just need to get the shape files for those and get those into it if it's not already there. But currently we have all of the shape files for school district, city council, all the way up to statewide. And let's see, looking for some other questions. Okay. I'm in the chat, so I may need to switch over to the Q&A and see if there's anything.
Amy, this is Teresa. I've been trying to answer some of the questions in the Q&A, but I still haven't gotten to. So take a look at some of the answered ones, but also just the open ones.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there is an open one that has a lot of upvotes, and the question is, what scores do you use for the targets?
Yeah, so we've got a couple of scores in the platform. We've got the partisanship model, so the party lean. And the things that go into that are the person's primary vote history. So do they vote in Democratic or Republican primaries and how often? And then demographics, and then also how the precinct votes will factor into that as well. So is it a red or blue precinct? So that factors into that score. We've also got a turnout score. So that's the likelihood that they turn out in a general election. And that's also based on their voting behavior. So how often do they turn out? I see another one here about custom survey questions. We don't currently have that, but the intention is to have that into the platform in the near future. It is on the roadmap. And how fast will Canvas data update in the system? It updates instantly. So if someone were at home watching that goal tracker page, you would be able to see the support scores and things ticking up as people were out in the field. Can filters, lists, and universes be shared with other users? Yes, as long as they're in the same workspace, then they'll be able to, and as long as they're a data manager, they'll be able to see the different filters and lists that you've created. There's different user levels. So there's owners, admins, and data managers. They can do anything with the data that you would like. So they can create lists, universes, they can upload, they can export, things like that. Volunteers, though, they have more limited view. So they can only update data at an individual level. So like canvassing or with the search functionality. So they can add support scores and tags, but again, only at the individual level, not in bulk. Is there a phone banking tool? Not yet, but it is actively being worked on at the moment. So that's going to be one of the next feature releases coming very soon. It's not going to be a dialer per se, but it will be able to feed you targets that have a phone number, and then folks can dial that number from their phone and then add support scores and tags right there as they talk with people. How big is the team? I don't have an exact number on that. Around 60 people. And how quickly are we doing new features? We do a release about every 2 weeks. Sometimes those are smaller things, sometimes those are larger features. Canvassing was just released in the platform within the last month. So it's still fairly new. And let's see, I'm wondering if I forgot something. Single licensing for multiple campaigns. I would need to know more details about that, honestly. Normally we like to just license to one entity. But if you wanted to send me more information about the particular use case, then we can look at that and see what the feasibility is of that is. I'm going to put my email address in the chat. So if you wanted to reach out about something individually, feel free.
There is another question that I think is somewhat related. There was a question about districts, and it was answered, and then there was a follow-up question. And so the original question was, is there a way to narrow to specific geographies like political districts? And then it said yes. And then the follow-up question is, are you limited to one district type, or could you get statewide access and then see all the different districts in the state?
Yes, so depending on your entity type and like the use case, then yes, you would be able to get a statewide view. I can show you the statewide view. We are a little bit mindful of who all we give statewide view to, because it is giving a full state's data to folks. So again, it would depend a little bit on use case. But this is what the statewide view looks like. And then you can switch the district type that you're viewing. So it defaults to county. You can switch it to congressionals if you would like to look at those. And then also state house or state senate. And then you can drill down into specific district types over here.
Also would note too, though, that like if you have maybe like 3 or 4 districts, you can have multiple districts within your RunningMate account. And you can also see how Amy's showing that you can also have multiple workspaces if like you're overseeing above someone. So it just would depend, I think, on the use case, which is kind of the best fit for you. There is some limitations with state view just because of the size of the voter file and like being able to process the data. So, you can only set goals at the top level and some of the other things. But I think, Amy, correct me if I'm wrong, most people kind of utilize just multiple districts versus the state view.
Yep. Yeah, that's more common.
There are some questions. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're fine. I just saw another question that figure we could address
Go for
about
it.
tracker. Yeah. Um, so goal tracker does not currently support or take into account, I guess, things like ranked choice voting or multiple candidates. So, but it's something that we're going to try and work on in the future. Right now, it's more looking at a head-to-head, like a two-person race.
Well, awesome. Last call for questions. Get your questions in the Q&A box. Wow, rapid fire. Thank you to the RunningMate team. I think we've answered a record number of questions in this amount of time, so we really appreciate it.
Yep, no problem. Thanks for giving us the time. But yeah, I put the information in the chat, and it's going to be sent out by email as well. Feel free to reach out to me or to use the link that's there in the chat to sign up for time to walk through your district in particular. And then you can also sign up using the link runningmate.io/sign up, choose pro, choose your district, and then use the code ARENA25 for that 100% off discount.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Let's give it up in the chat for Amy and the entire RunningMate team. We appreciate all the behind the scenes work that went into answering these questions as well. And as we've said, we will send you a follow-up email. You'll receive the recording and all of the links and the discount codes that were shared today. So fear not. The pricing is free for 1 year, Franklin, with the discount code that we're going to share in the email. It's ARENA25. So we appreciate your time. Thank you to everyone for joining. This is the end of our show. We're going to stop the recording now, and you don't have to stick